New miles Monday, we'll go miles on this ride. New miles Monday, with some miles on the side.
I'm recorking a bass clarinet neck here on a pro bass clarinet. This is a Buffet Prestige. If you're not familiar with how necks are on pro style bass clarinets, they're usually something like this. It may or may not have a cork there. Buffets do have a cork there. And that's going to be a very, very important cork because we need a nice airtight seal when this goes together, right? Your mouthpiece would be here. And if there's not an airtight seal here, well, you're going to be losing air before you even get to pad one on the instrument. So it's important that we've got a nice, tight, airtight connection there. And then we'll also have a tenon cork here for where it goes into the instrument. If you're only familiar with like, student style bass clarinets, this is all metal. There's not going to be any adjustment here. It would just be one piece, and then this piece would just be all metal where it goes into the instrument, much more like how a saxophone neck goes into the body of a sax. But yeah, so two spots where if the cork's not so good, you get some leakage way high up on the instrument. So we don't want that anywhere, and we especially don't want it very high up on the instrument. So, well, there's plenty of recorking videos on the internet. We don't really need another one, but I was doing this one and I just figured I'd talk about the importance of the corks here. So it's really, 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 really susceptible to leaks if we don't have a nice cork job on the neck. Lots of ways to do this measurement. One of the worst ways is to have a camera in your face to accurately get the measurement. Lots of ways to do it, but I just think using calipers is the best way. This is just an old digital calipers that either the battery died a long time ago or there's no battery in it at all. Doesn't matter because I never turn these ones on. I just keep them right by my bench. Very handy for getting my cork measurements. Okay, make sure I didn't lose my mind or anything. That measurement came out good. Yeah, that'll work for sure. And then usually, it's actually the same diameter for the cork on both of these parts on Buffets, and this one appears to be no exception. Cool. Yeah, usually measure once, cut twice would mean something very bad, but in this case, it's actually means something very convenient. If you're already familiar with replacing clarinet tenon corks, absolutely nothing special about this. You already know what you're doing, even if you haven't encountered this on a pro bass clarinet before. You're really going to recork it the way you would recork any other tenon on a clarinet. I do usually use a bit thinner cork, though. It's usually a size or two down from what it would be for the rest of the instrument on a pro bass clarinet. Soften up these corks a little bit. I'm squeezing the pith out of it. Everybody's favorite term. Just making it a bit more pliable, less susceptible to crackage, breakage. Still a natural piece of cork. It could happen, but it's going to be less likely to happen now. I do what's called a lap joint, so you need to cut a little bevel for where the cork overlaps once it wraps all the way around, and it's going to finish by wrapping over itself. It's the opposite of a butt joint, which I don't like. Those are too susceptible to leakage, and I find them to be more work. Some people get really nice results with them. I am not one of those people, so I'm not going to do that kind. I always do the neck first. I put the cement on the neck first and the cement on the cork second. I feel like it dries a little quicker on the cork is why I do that. So just to give the neck a head start, I've never truly measured it or done any scientific research of any sort on that. So I could be completely wrong, but that's just how I feel. So that's why I do it. And I just kind of keeps everything consistent. I do it the same way every time. And if you've used contact cement before, you know it's a little odd. It's a little different from other adhesives in that you got to put it on both surfaces that you want to stick together, and then you actually are supposed to wait to let it dry. You usually like to wait about 10 minutes with it. Just follow the manufacturer's recommendations if you're ever doing this yourself. But yeah, most glue you don't want to let it dry. You want to work with it while it's still a bit wet, but not contact cement for it to actually work the way it's intended to. Got to let both parts dry. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, corks going on the instrument. All right, I got cement on the little bevel there, right? So I don't want to touch that with my fingers that have been getting dirty and greasy and oily in the repair shop. So I'll find something cleaner than my finger, like the edge of this straight edge, and that's what I'll use to touch that. I don't want to compromise that little bit of cement that's right there on the edge of this cork and on that bevel where we're going to do the lap joint. I'm going to press pretty firmly as I go around here. I want to make sure I don't accidentally leave a little air bubble or anything like that. I want maximum contact. I find that like a good re-cork will last years and years and years. I'd say usually like 5 years if it's treated pretty well. Usually the cork will just compress so much that it needs to be replaced before it actually like falls off or chips off or anything. I'm just going to start to trim it down a little bit. Pretty close, but I'll never get all the way down there. I'll always be a little bump, little nub right here that needs to be sanded off. But the closer I can get it, the less sanding I have to do. We'll call that good. Don't want to go too far because we got to go all the way back to the beginning if I ever did that. Probably call that one good right there. Yeah, I'll just sand one of these for right now. No sense in making you watch me sand both of them. But yeah, we can kind of check there, and even if I push pretty hard there, that's not going through. So definitely need to sand off some material, and of course we need to sand it for nothing else but to get that little nub off there so it's a nice smooth surface. And then we can start checking the fit once the nub is gone. All right, so we're getting pretty darn close. I could force that on right now if I really wanted to. I am going to sand it just a little bit more. Then I'll show you what's next. Okay, I think I'm done sanding. The last things I like to do when I'm recorking just about anything is put a little layer of paraffin wax on it. Builds in some lubrication and also has kind of just a surface layer of protection to protect from, eventually cork grease will work its way through the pores of the cork and get down to the cement and start to break it down. So if we put some wax on there and melt that in, that will help it last longer. And it makes it look nice. I've seen people just like take a torch to the wax and just melt it all over the place. It's effective, but that's messier than I think it needs to be. This works just fine. It rubs right in at room temperature. And then if I tried to put it together right now, I'd probably rub at least half the wax right off. So I need to melt that in. So I'm just taking my Vortex air torch here. Just melting in the wax. Some cork grease. I So nice and snug going in there, but not so snug that the player will have a lot of trouble adjusting it. And the last thing I'm going to do is make sure I've got an airtight seal. So I've got where it would go into the body. I've got that plugged up. I've got a plug for where the register key is going to go, because I want to isolate it here, right? If I've got to find that I have a little leak, I want to know, well, is it the cork in here? Is that maybe there could be a little pinhole solder leak somewhere, or it could just be the pad itself. I want to know. So I'm taking the pad completely out of the equation here. Plug it up. And hopefully our machine goes to about 0, and yes, it sure does. So we're good there. So when I put this together, if I notice any problem and I don't have a perfect seal on the neck, I will know 100% that it's because of the pad. But yeah, that's it. That's how I like to recork that. Nothing earth-shattering about my recorking process. I just want to emphasize that it's really important. I see this overlooked so much, and there's a little leak in here. See that in new instruments, used instruments, freshly overhauled instruments. I see it all the time. So yeah, it's just seems like a cork in there. What's the big deal? Well, just not having a good seal there could really mess up how your instrument responds. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.
New miles Monday, we'll go miles on this ride. New miles Monday, with some miles on the side.